there's going to be upsets left, right, center because Viper is busted right now. Oh my god, what the f were they thinking?
A chat with Cloud9 White's Mel off a successful, victorious VCT Game Changers campaign. Mel, thanks so much for joining us, and congratulations again for your victory of the weekend. I mean, we had a ton of fun having you on last time. Now we get you on live this time, which is going to be great. Hey, going through the bracket, Mel, you probably encountered a couple of rosters that formed really, soon before the tournament itself, right? Because I feel like there was like a few days where we heard about TSM, we heard about CLG getting announced, Moon Raccoons Black also. Were these teams sort of known to you? Were you sort of familiar with like maybe what you'd be going up against? Or do you feel like you kind of walked into the Game Changers not quite knowing what to expect?
I kind of had like a rough idea. I knew Moon Raccoons had been a team the longest. I knew that they were kind of unsigned and they were like vibing for the most. Sorry, I kind of just creeped my microphone.
No, you're good, you're good.
I knew CLG and TSM were teams, and they had orgs behind them, but I knew they were very new. So it's like the effect of the org hadn't really come into effect, I guess you could say. So I didn't really view them as like on the same level as like Moon Raccoons. I'm not saying they're bad teams at all. I'm just saying when we were going into it as a team, how we view it is that these teams have least practice, these teams have more practice, and the way I saw it, CLG and TSM probably had the least amount of practice. And obviously with the whole TSM situation, even less so because of the sub situation. So
actually get into that for the practice, because I know Katie has mentioned in the Game Changers interview when you guys won that you guys are able to practice versus tier 1, tier 2 teams to practice, for example, for VCTs and whatnot. Now you're looking at all of these rosters that are pretty brand new. Have you had a chance to practice against them as well, or is it the first time that you're seeing them in the bracket? And were there any surprises versus these teams?
We had a chance to do a warm-up scrim last week, a week prior during the group stages. We had like a chance because the warm-up scrims at the time, like there's no teams that are scrimming that early in NA. So, but we had a chance and we're like, nah, we really just want to make it like not a blowout, but we want to be really confident that these teams aren't going to like try and pick apart and anti-strat every small little thing. We didn't want to scrim any, and we don't want to scrim any of those teams before going in, just so they had nothing on us. And we were also practicing with a new agent. We didn't want to give them like any time to adapt. They just had to adapt like in the moment.
Mel, I have a question. It felt good to win.
Good.
Why is that funny already?
That is what we're here to do.
I can't even ask my question. I was gonna say, it felt good to win, right? And so Game Changers, the first week of that is essentially over. So looking forward, and the fact that you played in it, if you were to better Game Changers in any way at all, I mean, to change to anything out there, whether, the way it's shown off, spoken about, promoted, bracket, whatever, how would you make Game Changers better for, Cloud9 and every other competitor out there in the future?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's away from gameplay and all. I just want to see, like, what could be done to really elevate Game Changers now that we have it here? Because nothing's wrong with growth.
Okay, the first thing I think of just marketing wise, I'm actually not sure because I didn't really play a ton of ranks between the tournament games, but did they do the Game Changers advertising in game like they did for Masters? I have no idea.
I did not see it actually. I only saw the game. Even if you're playing now, you're still seeing the Masters billboards, so I don't think they put it up for Game Changers.
I know the groups part of Game Changers during Masters, so that makes perfect sense not to have it. But I guess it would be cool if there wasn't any other major events going on to have the Game Changers advertised in game too. I think that'd be kind of cool. I think having maybe advertising more like co-stream ability. I think it'd be really cool. Maybe if we had like Poke co-streaming it, or if Myth was co-streaming it. And if anyone that was interested, obviously not to force it on them, but if they were interested in it, having the ability to co-stream, I think that was a big boost to the Masters numbers. I think that'd be really cool for the numbers for Game Changers as well, just from a marketing standpoint.
Yeah, Slinky did it.
I really liked. Slinky did a watch party. Yeah, I really liked that they gave the event pride of place though. So like I was, usually I sit down for Friday through Sunday to watch Valorant, and Game Changer was on, so I was watching that, which I thought was great. And then sort of try and crash into a bunch of other Valorant events on that same weekend. So kudos there. You kind of mentioned, Mel, just before that you didn't really want to give too much away because you were practicing on a new agent. When we spoke to Dream a couple of weeks ago, we asked about Astra. He's like, bro, I don't know. Like, there's a lot to unpack here. Obviously, you have as a team unpacked Astra. You want to tell us a little bit about why you think she's such a great addition, who you think she maybe replaces most effectively, and and what do you think about her going forward?
I just want to preface this and say that the meta at the moment is going to shift into way more utility based. At least as I predict,
Mhm.
just based on how scrims are going right now and seeing
Mhm.
other teams' comps. I can't really say too much, but
Cool.
regarding other teams' comps, but yeah, when we brought Astra into the lineup at the time, it was definitely a chaotic environment because we were figuring her out. And she's obviously, it's not like, oh yeah, we're adding Yoru, like whatever, we're adding Viper.
Yeah.
No, like this is like you have to change how the entire team plays if you're going to play Astra, and that is something that we heard a lot of teams were struggling with. Because obviously we talked to other teams and our coaches talked to other coaches, and we heard that some teams were just like, nope, not doing it. We tried Astra for a week and we're moving on. Like, just keep it moving. We're going back to Omen. And I was like, okay, I mean, respectable, because it is a difficult agent to play and a difficult agent to play around. There's a lot more communication and teamwork and coordination that you need. And we kind of just like leaned into that for this tournament because we already had 2-3 weeks of practice because we picked up Astra the moment she was released. We were like, it's nerf or nothing type beat. Like, we were going in there, like we were going to put all our practice into it and we're not going to go back because we saw the potential that she had. And that's what we came into VCT with, and we knew that it would take a lot of teams off guard because obviously these teams are less practiced, and if they're not getting a lot of practice, they're definitely not getting practice against Astra. So
well,
that's just how we saw it.
Without sharing too much, if I could just jump, it's a small question, Vance, without releasing too much information. Now, you basically gave us like a general outlook about Astra and what your plans are with it, right? What way do you want Astra to be played, or what ways can you see Astra being played to help your team out?
Like in the server, like things that
like tricks, server play styles, offensively, defensively. Like, what do you think could really help her, elevate Cloud9 White?
I think something I could say without revealing a ton is having a player that is very mobile and like tracking her stars constantly. Because I was watching a few EU Astra VODs. I'm not going to be too controversial, but compared to what we already had on Astra, I wasn't too impressed. This was like a week or so ago. These aren't like huge tournaments I'm talking about. These are kind of like smaller tournaments, and like we weren't really too impressed, and we were grateful for Kat because she is really micromanaging her stars, and she is constantly like, if this isn't being used, I'm taking it, and when we're retaking, I'm taking it. If we're doing this, I'm taking it back. Like, she's always on top of that. And if you have an Astra that's too slow to react, then it can definitely, you can feel the effects of like just not having someone as like able to support as Omen. If you are not like really on top of your stars with Astra, then it's really obvious. But when you are, it's like definitely game changing, and she's really quick with it. She's like playing RTS, dead ass. Like I don't know how else to put it. So I think that's the biggest thing I can say without giving away like the actual like micro strategies we have around her stars.
Yeah, I think even just looking at it from even casting the matches or from now that you have a bit of footage on it, I did notice that Kat was going to be a little bit more of like a lurk player on the attacker side, because I think usually when you have a killjoy such as yourself, like basically on the ranks, you're putting like these turrets, you're watching the flanks, you're putting alarm bots, but I see you entering a lot with your team to actually set up those gadgets on the offensive, and also just use Katsumi on the lurk later on. Do you think that Astra is going to be that type of agent that could be a control a lurk for the playstyle in the future with these types of like ability usage meta that you're talking about?
I can see it kind of depending on the Astra player. Like Kat, she has a good idea of all of her stars and where they're gonna go, and so she has like a lot less we call it like AFK time in like the Astral realm, where it's like you are completely vulnerable to all your surroundings. So that part of it, if you don't know where they're gonna go, if you don't go into a spot where like you're placing them and so on and so forth, and you're trying to lurk, it can be really, really hard because you're not like aware of your surroundings at all. And that's like the biggest part of lurking, is like you are hyper aware of like the rotations and where they're gonna rotate and where you can get flanked from yourself, and if they're gonna clear you or if they're retaking the site. There's so many things that go through Lurk's mind, and it's like that's really hard to do as Astra. But she plays it in a way where it's definitely doable. I wouldn't say it's optimal, but it's doable.
At least the abilities that you were talking about, it turns out pretty well, because I like one of the terms that I saw on Reddit was the gravity swarms. So when you actually had the gravity well towards the spawn set of Haven, you threw a nanoswarm on the ground and actually got a kill out of that. And that was some of the things that we were theory crafting when Astra first came out, and we're like, hopefully we get to see it, and we actually did.
We
get
thought
to
it would
see
be
it
kind of too fiddly, you know what I mean? Too hard to make happen, but you guys did.
Great job for that. Great job for that.
Yeah, that's interesting that you noticed that. It's cool. It was on Reddit, right?
Yep.
That was so cool.
I mean, if you see a nanoswarm kill, I think in the kill feed, everyone's already like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You sort of mentioned that you knew that you were probably expecting some decent level of resistance from MR Black when you played up against him. You kind of knew a bit about him. Really close series. Honestly, probably one of my favorite series from all of Game Changers. That 2-0 for C9 White against MR Black. That Haven map obviously sort of went the distance. Do you feel like it was an expected performance from MR Black? Do you feel like you were prepared to sort of be on the ropes to some degree, or to really have to push, or did they surprise you?
I would say they definitely surprised us. I wouldn't say we underestimated them. We knew that they were probably the best team in the tournament going into it, other than us. We expected more of like a 13, like in our previous games, we were like 13-2, 13-4. We were expecting maybe like a 13-8. Maybe they might mess us up. Maybe they might punish a couple mistakes. But I think we played a little sloppy, and also they played pretty well that day. And that kind of led into a closer game than anticipated, to say the least. Like, I mean, you could tell that they were more structured team, because they were actually like punishing us with like lurks, and that is something that didn't happen to us the whole tournament. And so kind of what happens is like you kind of develop bad habits throughout the tournament, in a sense, where it's like, oh, you're getting away with a lot, so I'm gonna keep doing the same things. I'm gonna keep autopiloting and keep getting away with a lot. But when you play teams like Lunar Coons that are obviously like their practice, like they know what they're doing, they're going to punish you. And we just weren't ready for that for the first couple gun rounds, and they kind of snowballed the first few. After we went 4-1, they kind of like started punishing us, and it was like, okay, we need to get a grip on this.
All right, so go ahead, Van.
Sorry, Valley, because I just want to continue on that question too, because you had the head-to-head versus Moon Raccoons. The first map went into overtime, then you had the second map that went into the last round of regulations, and then once you knocked them down, and they also beat CLG Red. CLG Red got their revenge series versus them, and it looked pretty one-sided for CLG Red too. So what's your take on CLG Red? And in the grand finals, Katie was saying, like, no offense, and let's preface this as well, like, we're not going to discredit CLG Red, but technically, in like, if you had to replay the series maybe 10 times, maybe 8 times out of 10, possibly Moon Raccoons would be at the top.
Yeah, I would agree with Katie's statement. She's definitely speaking a sentiment that I share, for sure. I think it came down to, I think something like Benita said, it did come down to a bit of experience. Although at the same time, I think that Moon Raccoons does play better when they are the underdog and like their back's against the wall and there's the pressure's on them. But I think it was just kind of like an arduous day, and I think you kind of have to see it from Moon Raccoon's perspective. Like, you just got done with like a really close VO3. Like, if you imagine as a player, your adrenaline like is pumping hard, like your body is physically going through like a lot of shit, to be honest. And so like, let's have you live a really intense VO3 over 2 hours, and then you have a long ass break. When it happened to me, like as the winner of that game, I was exhausted. I'm not joking. Like, I literally, after an hour, like it hit me after an hour, not the first hour, after an hour precisely. I was like, I'm gonna pass out, dude. I can't. I'm literally gonna go pass out. And I went to lay down. And then I saw that the game was going to happen. I was like, okay, maybe I have to get up for this. But I can't imagine how it must have felt for them, because that hour break is, oh my God, that hurts after such a close game. And obviously, CLG is coming off the momentum from winning its dig. And that's a really big win for like the organization, because it's like the rivalry between them and so on. But I do think that Moon Raccoons should have taken that. They're more practiced. They're more structured. CLG is only, I think they've only had like a week of practice. Again, like that's no fault to them. That's just how it is. I really do think that Moon Raccoons Black should have taken that, but CLG was a better team that series.
Mel, you spoke about, that exhaustion you go against, and, all this and that. And there's also talk about you and your teammates also not only juggling competitive Valorant and, winning, being some of the best in the world, right? You're also dealing with school and everything else, probably jobs as well. And juggling jobs, school, relationships, professional gaming, like for those people out there that really don't understand what it's like being a pro gamer, because like, yo, I was even in your shoes once. How damn difficult is it, and what is the dream scenario for you and your teammates in order to continue competing at a high level? Because let's be completely honest, like let's be completely fucking honest. You guys aren't just some, foo-foo team that's out there. Y'all are fucking dangerous. So what's it gonna take to reach that level? And when that reach the level, what would you want for a dream scenario for your team to be able to concentrate and focus all you can on Valorant to be the best that you can? Sorry for such a long question, by the way.
No, you're good. You're good.
That's post, by the way.
I was really into it.
You're all good. Yeah, we have like 3 students on the team, and they're not just like I'm taking one class. Like I think like Kat's doing her master's. She's doing it part-time though, so that definitely makes it a bit easier. But I mean, she's still doing master's level classes. Jazzy's in high school, and she's waking up at like 8 a.m. every day. Like that's when by the time practice comes, it can be kind of tiring. No, I know. I felt so bad when she was like sometimes telling me I had to wake up at 5 a.m. and I'm like, oh my god, girl, practice be starting at 5 a.m. Oh my, or 5 p.m. And Lexi is in like college, and she has like pretty much like full classes. So
Shut up.
yeah, it's definitely rough. I personally can't speak on how the effective classes because I quit my job when Magical was starting to kind of just like full commit to that. I was privileged enough to have the ability to do that. But I think the ideal situation is that, I mean, you just kind of like buckle up and like adhere to reality. I gotta pick up the slack because I have a lot more time than my teammates. Then if they need something done, like if you need to help me, like if you need to help finding a lineup because you just don't have the time, you're just tired, like I will help you. Let me make more of the strats, let me micro a bit more, like let me and the other teammates on the team that have a lot of time step up for the people that don't have as much if they need help. And that's just what being a team is about, really, is you're just stepping up for your teammates, and your teammate's gonna have your back when this X and Y happen, whether that's in real life or whether that's in game.
I did ask. I quit competitive gaming when I was studying. So I mean, mad respect to the students on your roster. I actually became a caster for that reason. I just couldn't help it. So, what's your key takeaways now? Because obviously, Cloud9 are you are a team that mixes it up in all levels of competition, right? When we expect to see you back at VCT challenges as well. But now looking back at this tournament, obviously, which was a great success, at least from my perspective, sort of watching it, I really enjoyed it. What are your key takeaways, I guess, about the scene in general, about maybe things that you can sort of, take forward and now apply to your games coming up in the future? If there's anything that I guess sticks in your mind as a team that you feel like you learned.
I think one thing this tournament has given us to practice, and one thing we can learn is practicing how to be dominant. We know how to win, but we want to practice like dominance. We want to know, like, if you look at version 1, did you guys catch any like the tournament, the Night of Golds tournament last week during groups?
I didn't get mine, unfortunately. Didn't have a chance.
I didn't know.
I'm not. You guys can debate on whether it's VM. I think it's perfectly fine. But version 1, pretty much they 3-0'd. They had the first 2 maps they won pretty solidly. I'm not sure if they had a map advantage, but I know that they were definitely sweeping a little bit. They were very confident, and so for the last map to determine if it's going to be a 3-0 or not, they just went 4 duelists, and they won a grand final on buying the 4 duelists. Yes. Like that's just dominance to me. Like they are so confident that they're going to win. Like they're so confident in themselves and their teamwork that they're just going to make something happen on the fly. I'm not saying that's ideal or optimal. I dig that kind of confidence. I like it. And I think this tournament, we just really want to focus on being dominant, like Astrala's style. Like we don't even want to look like we have weakness, because we did show a little bit of weakness, and that is something I wish we cleaned up on earlier. But I want to make it dominant next time. And I think one thing too is I think it's going to be really cool to see the female scene blossom 100%. In the next 6 months. Now that these orgs are actually investing in more rosters than just our own, it's going to be so cool, and I'm really excited to see these teams participate in the quals and so on and so forth over the next 6 months with proper org support.
It sounds like you want to also have that confidence where 5 of you could just hover over a jet and let the system randomize the agents and still win in that style. So I like that attitude. Love that attitude.
Well, I mean, that is just called being confident and thriving under match conditions.
Yep.
Though.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like if you can get to a almost like a flow state when you're in match conditions where you can just take it easy and then everything is off muscle memory and instinct, then like you're in a very good place, because then you can go back to first principles when you actually have to focus and think through all of your moves against a maybe a tougher team and access that part of your mental a little bit easier.
Exactly.
I mean, you guys are aiming for Iceland. I'm quite
Exactly,
sure. You know, I you know, with Reykjavik now having been announced and coming up, you know, there's obviously, you know, very, very lofty goals for yourselves and many other teams in the scene. Comparing where you are now to where you were in sort of challenges as you tried to make it into Masters, what do you guys sort of as a roster feel like you would like to improve on most to sort of give yourself the best chance having a seat at the table in Iceland when the time comes?
I would say right now we're going to be focused on like cleaning up on any bad habits we might have picked up from like the tournament. Since we were playing a lot of like the lower seeds in the quarters and the semis, we just need to clean up all the small things that now we can get punished for that we were like kind of being lazy with or slacking on because we weren't getting punished for. Definitely need to clean all that up, cleaning up our comms, really optimizing our Astra ability and our Astra util and how we're coordinating around with Astra. Really just mostly focusing on ourselves and getting the most out of like these 2 days of scrims we have before challengers. But I think I'm not sure if you guys have seen the bracket, but we play against Attack Mode, Sonics, which is I think the Australian team that came over.
Oh
to
yes,
Exo-Clan, yeah.
And we play Sentinels third round.
Oh shit!
So
I hope that Sonics game is streamed. Actually, there's a lot on the line for that matchup.
Yeah,
Apparently they're
actually
fucking amazing.
really excited. I've heard that they're like owning in scrims, but it's gonna be really fun. I think my team kind of plays to the role of like we played at the level of our opponents for better or for worse. And I feel like when we play against better teams, I feel like my calling is a bit better for whatever reason. I feel like maybe it's a bit more like I can understand what's going through their head. And then sometimes when I'm playing against like teams that are like a bit more puckier, I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? Like they're just running it down or whatever they're doing. They're just making me confused as hell. But when we're playing against like more structured, organized teams, I think it's a bit easier. So I actually like playing and pulling these like really good teams in a bracket. I feel like we actually have a better chance in this bracket than we do before.
That's awesome.
I feel like as well, if you know, past that Sentinels game, I think it's like maybe BBG or Beast Coast that you go up against. So you know, the Sentinels game definitely feels like your biggest hurdle, at least going into the round of 16. So do you guys value? Do you sort of value the experience of getting to play against sort of Sentinels under match conditions as well? I'm not sure if you have the chance to scrim them, but you know, do you sort of look at that as like, oh, you know, we relish this opportunity to test ourselves against, you know, like a benchmark top team like this?
We've scrimmed tier 1 teams before. We haven't scrimmed Sentinels, so we kind of already have like a benchmark of like what we need to work on and what it looks like. And like I mean, our scrims, I'm not gonna like say the teams, but like sometimes we'll go even or we'll even like win the scrim. So I know we have like the ability to. I know we definitely have like the ability to win out rounds. Like our aim and mechanic, that's not like the issue really. I think it's mostly just us playing our game and playing the most optimally and like being the better team that day. Because I know we have like the potential just based off of scrims. And like I mean, you can't put too much stock in it, but just the bare minimum of like, yeah, we can go head to head with these people. That's really all you need.
I think you can assess. You can assess fundamentally if you're on the same level in a scrim. You know, what I mean, you can see fundamentals. Sure.
Exactly.
Speaking of fundamentals, and actually, Mel, I've always respected your mind in the game, the theory crafting that you do for Valorant, and going into the upcoming VCTs for the Masters 2. There is some changes. We're playing on the latest patch that just dropped today. I don't know if you had a chance to read a bit, but there's going to be some changes on Viper and on Yoru, and I wanted to know like your thoughts, like just firsthand as you read through these patch notes. Do you think this is going to be that these two agents are going to see a little bit more, as maybe you guys are the ones that are picking up Astra off the get-go?
What does Cat think?
Dude, yeah, we literally had a discussion in our Discord already about this. I'm just gonna say that this is definitely, there's gonna be some crazy results this weekend. There's gonna be upsets left, right, center, because Viper is fucking busted right now. Oh my God, what the fuck were they thinking? I gave you a soundbite, but that wasn't real.
No, I love it. All her abilities are now like electric fences instead of like clouds of smoke. You just walk into it and you get flattened.
Yeah.
You just touch a
50
green
damage
wall.
and vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yep.
A 3-pixel wall. Like I was a Viper main. I think this is a bit much. Oh my God, I don't know what's gonna happen in EU. That's gonna be crack. But
True.
in NA, I don't think you guys would be very surprised to see a lot of these like tier 2, tier 3 teams just pick Viper and just go out the gauntlet. Like we're just gonna try and see if we can gimmick them
into a poison orb. Yeah,
pretty much.
It's the anti-Smeeg strat, man.
It kind of is, dude. Not even gonna lie. I might have to pick a Viper against FaZe or something. But like, you don't even have time to practice. Like, I don't know what this precedent is setting. Dropping a patch a day before the, like, not even 2 days, one day before the tournament. Like, that's kind of, I don't know. I don't like that personally as a player, but
sometimes
I don't know how it is in other games.
They wait and they play on a previous patch.
For 2 weeks.
Right. Right.
That was the Mark Cuban Overwatch argument when it came to patches right before big days, right?
Yeah.
Like the fact that it shouldn't drop immediately before a big event.
For years, mate. Oh yeah,
but I'm saying like that was the Mark Cuban argument when it came to investing in esports, because he said, you know, these developers, they drop these patches, but yeah, I'm taking away from Mel, but yeah.
No, you're good. You're good. But I don't understand it either, because I swear, like he said, there's been qualifiers where it's like a patch will drop, but they'll be like, oh no, you guys are not playing on this one. But now they're like, no, y'all are playing on this one. Like, damn, y'all want to see Viper that bad?
Yeah, they kept us on the Stinger patch for an extra week. You know, like they could do.
You could do this the whole time.
At least Buckies are gone.
So
Buckies are gone.
That's true.
So we can crab rave about that later. Hey Mel, we know you've got a balance, so thanks so much for giving us some of your time this morning, though, and we can't wait to see how you make use of Viper and see how you ride the wave in this utility frenzy we're going to see.
Hopefully, I will come up on top. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks so much, Mel.
Stay dominant,
Congrats again.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
She scares the hell out of me, Uber. She scares the hell out of me. You know why? Yo, like, even when I played, whenever we scrim, dudes were like, yeah, you know, let's try to beat him. Yeah, oh yeah, we fucked him up. She was like, yo, we going into scrims dominant. And she didn't even smile. She wasn't even fucking joking. I'm scared.